I want you to visualize two different realities. The first belongs to Julian. Julian earns $160,000 a year as a strategic consultant. He drives a German sports car from this year and lives in a 3,000 square foot home with high ceilings and marble finishes. If you walked into his living room, you'd see the perfect portrait of success. A top-of-the-line professional sound system, an imported leather sofa, and a wine cellar that's always stocked. But if you could step into Julian's mind at 3 in the morning on a Sunday, you'd see a devastating truth. Julian is exactly one corporate stumble away from losing everything. His life is a wealth transfer tunnel. The money comes in through his paycheck and immediately shoots out to the car finance company, the bank mortgage, and the insurance for a house he barely enjoys. Julian doesn't own his life. He is the janitor of his debts. Now look at the second reality. It belongs to Elena. Elena generates $60,000 a year working remotely. She lives in a 600 square foot apartment. Her furniture is simple, her television is 6 years old, and her car is a utility model she already finished paying off. However, Elena hasn't felt a knot of financial anxiety in nearly a decade. She has $90,000 in immediate liquidity and an investment portfolio that generates $700 a month in passive income. Same economy, same currency, but the person earning a third of the income has 10 times more control over her destiny. This isn't a sermon about being cheap. It's a forensic audit of the accumulation lie. Most people manage their lives like a failing retail store, stockpiling depreciating inventory while their real margin of freedom is zero. You've been sold the idea that more objects mean a better life, but financial math says every object is a tax on your peace of mind. Today, I'm going to break down the freedom budget rules that will allow you to reclaim $1,200 a month without ever asking for a raise. If you choose to ignore this, you are voluntarily accepting a life sentence in a glass cage with dual-zone air conditioning. Let's look at the books. The biggest mistake you make when buying something is looking at the price tag and concluding you can afford it. You're only looking at the entry cost. Everything you own charges you twice. The first cost is the transaction. The second cost is the maintenance of existence. This includes physical space, maintenance, insurance, the mental load of caring for it, and the silent killer, opportunity cost. Let's run the numbers. If you live in an area where a square foot costs you $30 a year, that $600 elliptical machine taking up 20 square feet isn't a $600 purchase. It's a $600 investment plus a $60 storage tax every single year. In 5 years, you've paid $300 in rent just to house equipment you only use to hang coats. Stop this video for a second and look at the room you're in. How many square feet are being invaded by things you haven't used in the last 8 months? You are literally paying interest to the bank or rent to a landlord to store objects that don't serve you. Smart minimalists don't avoid things because they hate pleasure. They avoid them because they understand that every object is a tenant. If that tenant isn't paying a massive rent in the form of utility or deep joy, it's a squatter looting your retirement fund. Rule number 2, apply the disappearance test. This weekend, walk through your home. Look at every item that costs more than $50 and ask yourself a brutally honest question. If this object vanished today by magic, would I spend my money to buy it again tomorrow? Be sincere. That food processor that takes half an hour to clean? No. Those shoes that are a bit tight, but were on sale? No. The 4th set of sheets for a guest room that's almost never used? Definitely not. These are zombie assets. They have zero utility, but demand your energy. You have to clean them, organize them, and move them every time you change houses. This creates visual clutter cortisol. Research shows that visual noise increases stress and destroys your ability to focus on high-value tasks, like finding a way to double your income. The truly rich don't have junk drawers. They have inventory control. If an item fails the disappearance test, it must be liquidated. Sell it, give it away, or scrap it. Reclaim the space. Reclaim your mental RAM. I might need it someday, you say? No, you won't. If you haven't needed it in a year, you won't need it in 5. And if the time comes, the cost of rebuying it in the future will be much lower than the daily tax of storing it for a decade. Rule number 3, beware of the multiplier effect. In my analyses, I often talk about the trap of unnecessary status. Buying a luxury truck when you work in an office isn't just the monthly vehicle payment. It's the ecosystem surrounding it. A lifestyle purchase is never an isolated event. A boat requires a trailer, which demands a more powerful vehicle, which requires a larger garage, which spikes your insurance and maintenance costs. A pool requires chemicals, filters, safety fences, and a noticeable increase in your electricity bill. This is the recurring expense multiplier. For every dollar you put toward a major status object, you are signing a contract to spend an additional 30 cents every year on operating expenses. When someone like Julian decides to move to a larger house, he isn't just paying a higher mortgage. He's agreeing to pay more for heating, more in property taxes, and the psychological pressure to fill that empty space with more objects. The rich who choose the boring path buy isolated assets. An index fund doesn't need maintenance. A high-yield savings account doesn't require repairs. They are clean assets. They pay you. You don't work for them. Rule 4. Never upgrade out of boredom. The modern economy is sustained by planned obsolescence and manufactured discontent. Corporations invest billions to convince you that your 2-year-old phone or your perfectly functional car are relics of the past. But from a forensic perspective, an object only fails when it stops fulfilling its primary function. Does your phone make calls? Does it still run the apps you need for work? Then it hasn't failed. Does your vehicle get you from point A to point B safely? Then it hasn't failed. The average consumer replaces their device every 2 years. If you simply extend that cycle to 5 years and invest the difference, you could end up with $40,000 extra in your retirement account by the end of your career. I know an investor who earns significant amounts and still drives a 10-year-old Japanese sedan. His acquaintances call him cheap. He just reached a $2 million net worth at age 42. His acquaintances are still worried about their car loan payments. Who is truly in control of their life? Rule 5. Introduce friction into your consumption. It's not that you lack willpower. It's that you have too much access. The current financial system is designed to be invisible. One-click ordering, saved card info, buy now, pay later, buttons that hide the true cost. If you want to build true wealth, you have to reintroduce obstacles. Delete shopping apps from your phone. If you want to buy something on a digital platform, force yourself to turn on a computer and type your password manually. Apply the 72-hour rule. For any non-essential expense over $50, you must wait 3 full days. 90% of impulsive desires evaporate within the first 48 hours. Clean your inbox. It's a minefield of limited-time offers. If you didn't know you wanted something until you saw the email, you didn't need it. Rule 6. Make saving easy by removing friction. Reverse the previous process. Set up your contributions to your investment account or retirement fund to happen the very second you receive your salary. If the money never becomes available in your checking account, you can't spend it on unnecessary inventory. Automating is the only way to win the game against your own impulses. Rule 7. Define what is enough before you start earning more. If you don't set a finish line for your lifestyle, your expenses will expand to devour every pay raise you get. That's why there are professionals with very high incomes living paycheck to paycheck. They earn $250,000 but need almost the same amount to maintain the inventory of their lives. They are as trapped as someone earning minimum wage. They are slaves to their own standard of living. Rule 8. Measure your wealth by your ability to choose, not by your accumulation. True wealth is the freedom to walk away. Can you quit a toxic job? Can you take a sabbatical year to care for a family member? Can you change careers if you wish? If your capital is trapped in a massive mansion and a luxury car, you have zero optionality. You are a serf to your own garage. Being rich is having many things. Being prosperous is having a lot of time. You cannot have both until you stop trading your life hours for objects that just collect dust. Rule 9. Apply the one in, one out policy. This is the only effective way to prevent the uncontrolled growth of your lifestyle. If you decide you need a new pair of shoes, an old pair must be sold or donated. If you want a new kitchen gadget, one must leave the counter. This forces you to evaluate the marginal utility of every purchase. You have to decide if this new object is truly superior to the best object you already own. Usually, the answer is a resounding no. This simple rule will stop 70% of your impulse buys because it forces you to sacrifice something you already value. Rule 10. Rent or borrow before you buy. We often buy things for temporary phases of our lives. The phase where we decide we'll be woodworkers, the phase where we believe we'll camp every weekend. Don't buy the gear yet. Rent it, borrow it from a friend, use it 3 times. If after 90 days you still maintain constant interest, then you can consider the inventory math. Most hobbies die in the first month. Don't let your garage become a graveyard of abandoned interests and wasted money. Let's analyze the real result of applying these 10 rules. By reducing the storage tax, downsizing, or simply eliminating clutter, you reclaim about $300 a month. By eliminating boredom upgrades in tech and vehicles, you save another $400 monthly. By killing the maintenance multiplier, selling that second car, or the expensive toys you don't use, you free up an additional $300. And by applying the 72-hour rule to impulsive whims, you keep another $200. The total is $1,200 a month. If you take those $1,200 and place them in a boring index fund that follows the market, in 20 years, you'll have $820,000. You didn't need a promotion. You didn't need to start an exhausting second job. You just had to stop letting your possessions pickpocket your future. The system wants you to think this is about deprivation. They want you to feel poor if you don't own the latest thing on the market. But remember Elena, she isn't living deprived of anything. She lives free. Julian has the appearance of success, but Elena has the power. In an economy designed to extract every last cent of your effort, being boring with your money is the ultimate act of rebellion. Your task for this weekend is to perform a forensic audit of your inventory. Find 10 objects in your house that you wouldn't buy again if they disappeared today. Sell them. Take that money, even if it's only $100, and put it into your investment account. Watch how it feels to own a fraction of a productive company instead of owning a piece of plastic that loses value every second. If you're ready to stop being a capital conduit for the banks and start building your own optionality, subscribe. We are deprogramming the middle-class trap in every video.